man. What are you doing? Coming at me with my new project. Hey guys, welcome to my shed. This is my personal project car. I've had it for about 8 years now. Done a bit of work here and there, but obviously it's one of those things that you never finish. So now we're going to get stuck into it and finish it because it's time. So let's have a look. What would Barry do?
Fix it.
Just like 1990 was time for the Guru, 2022 is time for the Crown. Welcome back to the Crown factory. This is my 1968 MS55 Toyota Crown. Crown is the flagship of the Toyota range. Well, it was back in this day, obviously. They eventually had Century limousines and that sort of stuff, but until the 90s, the Crown was the flagship passenger car. They're still made today, and it's still a pretty high level sort of thing. They're probably a bit more fancy than this actually, believe it or not. I bought this car in 2008. It was a completely standard 3-speed plus overdrive manual on the tree. I guess it was a 2 litre or something like that, 2.2 maybe, 6-cylinder, 4-wheel drum brakes. It was just old and it looked cool, so I kind of wanted an old car at the time. I thought old cars are going to run out soon or get really expensive, so you know, I was right. So I had it for about 15 minutes and pulled it apart and promptly got stuck into fitting a 2JZ A340 F-Series Diff out of a later Crown, all the brakes out of a later Crown. I spent about 2 months, I had a month off work and I spent about 2 months total just ploughing into it. I put a Scania turbo on it and factory computer, got it all going and pretty much just spent the next couple of years just doing burnouts in the shed in it. It kind of served its purpose well for that, but eventually the paint started sliming off the side of the car like it might have been a bit of a jam job, believe it or not. Like it literally was running off the side of the car. So I don't know what sort of paint it was, but maybe they laid it on a bit thick. So at that time I went, oh, what do I do with this car? Bugger it, let's restore it. I'd never really restored a car properly. I painted a couple of cars back when I was a kid, but didn't do a very good job at it because I was like 17. So I thought, oh, this car might be worth it. Let's go, let's spend some money on it. So I got Penalty Mark involved. This is kind of, I'd known him for a little bit back then, and this was the first time we'd worked together for a long period of time. So he came in, we stripped the car, we wire wheel stripped the whole car, all the paint off the car with just wire wheels. So ended up with multiple stab wounds around the stomach area from that. But he assured me that that was the only way to get it off without damaging the structure of the metal or overheating things. So we did all that, spent months and months and months repairing it. It was an absolute train wreck. It had been caved in the rear guards and bogged over with this thick bog and all that sort of stuff. And Mark went through it and completely fixed it and straightened it all out. And 10 years later, I think it is, it still looks pretty good. It's off the gun, as Kai would say. So here it sits. Ever since then, it's basically been in my carport, wrapped in its pajamas, a double layer, and probably a home for rats, I'd guess was probably its only real purpose, and just generally getting in the way and making me feel bad about not doing it. So this year, I've made a commitment that we're going to get it done. So we're going to get it done. I got a date with a formal with my oldest son, and it has to be there. So it's going to be all hands. This one and this one, I'd imagine, will probably be the ones involved on deck, and we're going to put a new driveline in it. As I mentioned, I originally fitted a 2JZ out of an Aristo to this, and that was all running and operating and everything with an auto. And we actually, after we painted, it was all refitted and everything and sort of ready to put the car back together. But for some reason, I just didn't, I wasn't feeling it anymore. It had been a couple of years by then, so I just parked it. And eventually, about the time that we started filming the skid factory, probably about a year before we actually put anything out, I decided that I didn't want it anymore, and I sold it to another guy with a Crown. So Woody and I pulled the whole lot out and packaged it all up and moved it on to the next guy to fit to his Crown. And we were at that stage going to fit a V12 to it. I bought a V12, an auto, complete, everything, and I was like, oh, this is a good match for the car, because it's, you know, a Toyota, top of the range Toyota at the time, and the V12 is the best Toyota engine according to some. And eventually we kind of worked out that the sump and everything was going to be a real problem with the way that this car's designed, which we'll get into later on when we try and fit the engine I'm going to fit to it, and that will also be difficult because that's how we roll. But anyway, so we kind of sort of gave up, or decided that it wasn't appropriate to fit the V12 to it. And I think Nathan bought that V12 with the 30 with the shorty with the twin turbo V12. I think he bought that off me because he pretty much buys any of them that come up for sale. So if you've got one, he's your man. But that actual engine ended up in the Hoff's Grandpa Cressida. So it's kind of a bit of a whirlpool of engines floating around on southeast Queensland, and it might shoot out anywhere and end up in someone's car, and you're probably going to know who they are, so it's interesting. But now is what we're going to put in it. Somewhere along the line I ended up with a Big Block Chev. It was kind of a long story, but I decided I've never had a Big Block Chev or anything that big, and that would be an awesome engine to put in an old car, which I still think it is. So I've kept that. We've had it for a couple of years now, and I've been slowly thinking about how hard it's going to be to fit an engine that big, but also reassuring myself that it's probably not as big as a 1UZ, but it's twice as much capacity. So just weighing it up. So just talking myself into it as you have to. That engine is currently apart and getting a rebuild. It's a built engine already. It was a supercharged alcohol engine originally, later on carby, and when I got it, and of course we removed all that and got rid of it, and it will be injected because this isn't the carby factory anymore, except for motorbikes. So that's a part. We're going to go down to John's and put that back together probably next episode or so, with a refresh. And it's also going to get some real nice stuff bolted to the top of it, which we're also going to go further into when we get there. Behind that is going to be a Powerglide. Hughes Performance built me a Powerglide to suit. Pretty nice bit of gear. It sounds old school, but the car's old, so why not? And Powerglides have got this charm where there's really nothing much to them, so you just get the right converter and the engine works properly, and you just click a gear every now and then and it just works. So pretty stoked with that. They're also very compact, which is always going to be a good thing when you're trying to jam engines in places that they're not meant to be. Rear end wise, out of the same car that I got the big block out of, I got a sheet metal 9-inch, which we've got apart, and that's going to be shortened and have the appropriate bracketry put on it to run with the rear end that's in this car, which is, at the moment, it's 3 trailing links and a panhard rod, which is just weird Toyota stuff from the 60s, but we're going to change it around to rearward mounted coilover shocks and sort of set it up more appropriately for the engine that's going to be in it. So there will be a fair bit of customization involved in getting all this stuff to work, which I'm pretty excited about. I've got good mates and good tradesmen on my side. I've got John for the engine. I've got Matty Rogan up the road to help us with the chassis side of things, and a heap of other good people and big companies involved. So I'm pretty stoked, and I can't wait to get this thing on the road. And you know who else can't wait? My 16-year-old son, because he's turned into quite the little bogan since he's been hanging around in the shed. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was kind of meant to be, I suppose, being my son. But I'm keen. Let's get stuck into it and build a Big Block Crown. This is going to be a fairly big project, so we may have delays along the way, but rest assured, once it's in here on this hoist, it is not leaving until it's under its own power. It's been too long and it's gonna be finished. So we may have to miss a week here and there, but we'll have something else scheduled in, depending on you know, whether we're having trouble getting hold of something. So just stay tuned, and we will be doing big block skids in no time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
I know he put a NASCAR engine in his Hucko, alright? You don't have to keep tagging me in the videos. I think it's fucking cool. The guy's a mad driver. It's awesome. I love it. But 20 or 40 tags in 5 minutes, it's too many, guys. So stop tagging me in those videos.
I'm gonna tag everyone. Go on to Instagram.
Gav's email address.
Yeah, everyone jump over to Gav's Instagram, Holkasuka, and tag him in Dago Sato's post.
You're gonna do it too, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's told you, Alan, but I don't think that those Stinos are gonna fit your car.
What?
Those wheels.
That's Fox body style, bro. That's how you do it.
It's American influenced.
Are you sure about that?
I like burgers.
What size is that? That's a 2550. Is that 255? Yeah. Is that going to hit the chassis or not?
Probably.
Probably.
We'll work it out.
Even my kids got merch. My daughter's got merch. My boys got merch. The missus got merch. Why don't you have any merch? Get some merch.
Where's mine?
I'm just going to get on the shop and just click and just go buy merch, done, send it to me, thank you very much. They bag it up, they send it to you, you got it, you put it on, you wear it, you're happy, they're happy, everyone's happy. What's your problem? Get some merch. Jeez.
He's on our sales team now. Yeah, I reckon.
I could do it.
It's way better than we are.
After paying for all this.
Come back to the classic Japanese car factory.
What was that sound effect though?
It's the pan. Across to Gav's car.
Oh. Do that sound effect again.
That's what it sounds like if you do it fast enough. Before we leave, there was a lot of people asking about the Hucko, in the what are we up to this year video. I can't remember what it was actually called, but Gav's got the shits with it and he's decided to part it out. So if you want any bits.
How much for the plates, Gav?
Oh, just put in an offer, man.
Well, we tried to shut the bonnet and it wouldn't shut, so it's just like, fucking, nah. It's all good. We're almost done with it. We're booked in for a dyno shortly, so you will see it in its finished form, in its dynoed form, in its hectic JDM wheel form and new plates.
Someone didn't like your wheels, Gav?
Very shortly.
I don't know who wouldn't like those wheels, man. They're absolutely perfect. Mark's done a fantastic job with those wheels.
Yes. There's a video on that too, actually. I'll link it in the corner. How about that?
There?
Yep.
First go.